in this video, we are going to see about what is a Spring Boot MVC. Okay, so Spring MVC is a Java framework that is basically used to build any web applications, right? As we have seen the Spring Boot, in order to build a web application, we need to use the Spring Web dependency in a Spring Boot. Okay, so that Spring Web actually includes this MVC and different types of serverlets, controller, etc. in order to build a Spring Web application. Okay, so MVC is nothing but it is a model view controller framework. Okay, that is we are using to build a web application in Java using the Spring. Okay, so the basic or very simple architecture of our Spring MVC is first what we have is a model which represents particularly the data of the application, or in simple words we can say it represents the business logic of the application, like the Java class, the different fields it includes, etc. Like next we have is controller. So in this controller, like we particularly handle different type of HTTP request. Okay, like handler methods are there if if any client request is coming. Okay, so how we are going to handle that particular client request, whether it is a get mapping or post mapping. So the logic for this is present in our controllers. Next we have is weave. So weave it represents the data to the user and handles user interactions, right? So weave is nothing but it can be a particular HTML file in which there are different sort of fields like which user will fill, okay, in order to interact with our application. And last is nothing but a front end controller. So in Spring Web MVC, the dispatcher servlet class works as the front end controller. So what is the dispatcher for servlet? It is a we can say a class that receives the incoming request and it is responsible for mapping it the right resource such as the controller or the model and the weave. Okay, so if we talk simply about the flow of this architecture, at first what happens is like the client as the dispatcher servlet. Okay, it is the front end controller of our application, right? So at first all the requests from the web browser they come to the dispatcher servlet. So dispatcher servlet is the central servlet that receives all the incoming HTTP requests that are coming from the client side. Okay, and it is responsible for then forwarding it to the appropriate controller methods for handling that particular request. Okay, after that, what happens then the dispatcher servlet then ask handler mapping method to determine which controller should particularly handle the incoming HTTP request based on the request URL that the user is sending. Okay. After this, what happens is that the controller processes that request as it finds the particular handling method, right, which is responsible for processing that particular method. So the controller processes it, returns an object of model and view, right? Then the dispatcher servlet checks the entry of the view and invokes the specified view components, like whatever, like if the controller method is saying that he wants the access to open the form, like which is present in the index.html file. Okay, so the dispatcher servlet will then pass that information to the particular view. Okay, and from then what will happen is that then then the request of the user will get processed, and whatever will be the specific response, okay, then it will be forwarded to the user. So that is the very simple working of our Spring MVC. Okay, then there are different annotations as well which we are using in MVC. First is the controller, as we have seen in Spring Boot, which marks my Spring MVC class as a controller, and where we will handle all the REST APIs or REST like different like get mapping, post mapping, etc. Then we have is request mapping, that is the URL which is specified by the user. Okay, which tells like which handler method it is it belongs to, right? Then we have is model attribute. So this model attribute, what does it does is it binds the parameters or method returns value to the model, or in simple words we can say like suppose there is one value in one controller method, suppose in get, and if I have to reuse that value in post mapping method as well, so for that I will use what it is model attribute. Okay, then this is what a simple example of a controller method in Spring MVC looks like. Okay, so if we talk about the execution of this, so at first the controller tells us that this annotation class is nothing but a belongs to the will handle the HTTP request. Okay, then we have this get mapping method. Before that we have the request mapping that is particularly telling us that the URL, okay, that particularly maps the HTTP request with the URL, that is the path which we have given is /home. Okay, so it will redirect us to the handler method that is nothing but the home. Okay, then this home method which takes so this home method, what we will do, it will redirect us to the view that is nothing but the home. So this home is, we can say, a particular HTML page which we have created in our Spring Boot application. So this, when the call goes to this method, it will redirect the user to this home HTML page, okay, which looks like this. Okay, so this call will come here and it will nothing but simply print the hello world. Okay, so this Spring Boot or the view which we are talking about, okay, it can be created with the help of the Thymeleaf or JSP, which we will learn further that what are this Thymeleaf or JSP. Okay, second is about the example of the model attribute which we talked here. So when we say about the model attribute, okay, let's understand it also one by one. So here, for what we have done is a simple example. We will see execution of this in one by one in our when we do the coding part. So let's first understand the basic execution. So at first we have named a controller class, okay, and inside this controller class we have given the annotation as model attribute, and here we are passing the value. Okay, so before understand, so let's understand this further. So here we have a method that is welcome message, and which is basically returning us a value that is welcome to our website. Okay, then we have a get mapping method with this path. Okay, so this will redirect us to this handler method. Okay, so in this handler method, as we can see, we are first passing the parameter that is the welcome model attribute welcome message. Okay, so what is this? So in this method, okay, as we can see, initially we have given this model attribute, okay, and this model attribute is nothing but it is representing this welcome message value, that is hello welcome to our website. So this value I want to pass to this controller method parameter, that is this one. Okay, so this, so for doing this, or for reusing the same value, we are using this model attribute here. Okay, so this value will get automatically populated, like the user has to not again write that if, like here, pass the value that is hello welcome there to our website, because with the help of model attribute it will get automatically populated. Okay, and then it will return us greet, that is the particular HTML page. Okay, so on this greet page, what we can see is this message we displaying that hello welcome to our website. Okay, now this was about only at the rate model attribute. One more thing which we have is nothing but this model. Okay, model object. Okay, so why we use it is to add the attributes, okay, that can be accessed in the view. Like let's understand this from this example. Like suppose we are having again a method that is get mapping. Okay, which has this URL as hash user, which is which is binded with the handler method that is user details. Okay, so in this to this method we are passing, which it is taking like model object as a parameter. Okay, so with the help of this we can add all the add all the values that are present in the controller to that of the view. Okay, so for example, like here what it is doing, it is fetching like all the user data, okay, with the help of the user object. So this user, we can say it is a Java class, okay, which has a reference variable as user. Okay, then we have created a service class inside our what we can say Java class, okay, which is having this reference variable as user service, which is particularly doing what, it is getting all the users that are saved in my database records. Okay, so that value for this will particularly come here. Now what I want is like in my HTML page, that is nothing but which is named as user details. Okay, I should get value of all the users that are particularly present in my database records. Okay, so for that, suppose what we can say in our this page, okay, we want to set the this particular value or the value that we are getting from the controller. Okay, so in that page we will have like the reference as for example, which we will further understand in Thymeleaf, and the execution of this in the coding part more easily, or in Thymeleaf and JSP. Like suppose in our user detail page we will have the field like suppose user in this way. Okay, that is suppose of this type. Okay, in this way. Okay, so with the help of this, what we are doing is we are setting the controller value that that we are getting fetched here. Okay, we are setting that value here. So because of this, what will happen now on the web page, the user can view all the details of the employees who are present in our database records. Okay, so in the simpler words we can say model is doing what, it is binding our controller with that of the view. Okay, next is we are having form handling, means we are performing different actions, like we are asking the user to fill the form, then that values we are going to store in the database with the help of post mapping methods, and we are going to update it, etc. Okay, inside this Spring Boot MVC form, we again have different attributes. That is the model attribute which we have seen, and again the request parameter. So this request parameter we are basically using for fetching different types of what we can say values from the request that is getting passed by the user. Okay, so very basic information is about, we can see example is about uh, is the post mapping method. Okay, so in this post mapping method we are having this URL which is which is passing us to this handler method, in which we have passed the model attribute that is a user object. So this is nothing but we are passing here the user object from the user entity class. Okay, then what it is doing, it is you saving the particular user to the database. Okay, and it is telling that once when the forms get open, okay, so the user will enter different values like its name, age, gender, etc. And what we want is to save this value to the database, right? So for this we are doing the post mapping method here. So with the help of this save user, okay, save user method, we are saving this value to our database, and once it is done, we are redirecting user to the success.html page, which will say, display like the login is successful or your values are saved successful, etc. Right? So this is all about what we can say about understanding what is Spring MVC or how we can work with Spring MVC, etc. Okay. Now next, let's talk about in the next video about so this is particularly a basic a theory part. When we come to JSP and time leap, right? So you will understand each and everything in detail, like how actually the code will get implemented and how we are going to execute it. Okay. Thank you for watching this video.